Upon my arrival in the ABO world, I found myself in an extraordinary predicament. Unbeknownst to me, the absence of a marking meant I could not become pregnant. Thus, I became the personal relief for a top-tier alpha. However, my world was turned upside down when I discovered 2 lines on the pregnancy test that it was all over. Why had no one informed me that a dominant alpha could possess the power to impregnate a man from an ordinary world? As I gazed at the gradually swelling curvature of my abdomen, alarm bells rang in my mind, prompting me to flee with utmost urgency. Yet, after a mere week of evasion, I was apprehended for stealing clothing. Caught red-handed, I found myself pinned down by the alpha, who sneered, "Zhoumian, is this all the courage you possess? How dare you attempt to escape?" 1. Recently, Yan Xiuan has been on a business trip. For every day he is away, I find myself retching incessantly. My appetite is non-existent, and sleep eludes me. I contemplate summoning the family doctor to my side. However, the household's intelligent robot, Xiao Qi, after conducting a cursory examination, informs me, according to the data, "Young master, you are pregnant." I am so taken aback that I leap from my bed, intent on dismantling the machine. "Xiao Qi, it's one thing for you to monitor me for Yan Xiuan daily, but now you dare to spread rumors about my pregnancy." Xiao Qi monotonously reiterates the statement. "Nonsense. How could a man like me possibly be pregnant?" In a bid to prove my innocence, I promptly purchase a pregnancy test. Staring at the 2 lines on the test strip, I feel as if struck by lightning. This cannot be true. I am a quintessential 21st century man. It's one thing to accidentally find myself in the ABO world, serving as a human suppressor for an alpha, but now I am being told that I am pregnant. 2. Soon enough, I come to terms with the reality of my condition. After all, if I could traverse to this realm, being pregnant does not seem insurmountable. A deep voice resonates from outside. "Zhoumian, open the door. Xiao Qi reports that you have been inside for half an hour." It is Yan Xiuan, back from his business trip. I mumble a vague "almost there," hastily wrapping up the pregnancy test and burying it deep within the trash bin. I break into a cold sweat. Just as I finish hiding it, Yan Xiuan pushes the door open. He surveys me. "Why is your face so sweaty?" I feeling guilty, wipe my forehead and manage a dry laugh. "It's not sweat. It's water. I just washed my face." Yan Xiuan steps closer. "Are you certain there's nothing you're hiding from me?" I shake my head repeatedly, involuntarily retreating a few steps until my back meets the cold porcelain tiles, causing me to shiver. Yan Xiuan chuckles lightly, pulling me into his embrace. "Why are you so nervous? I want to eat you." His words are casual, yet in truth, he wishes to devour me whole every day, compelling me to spend time maintaining my rear. Yet, the discomfort in my stomach inexplicably dissipates when I draw near him. Without realizing it, I burrow deeper into his arms, subtly probing, "Darling, if someone were to carry your child, what would you do?" Yan Xiuan interrupts. "That possibility does not exist. I mean, hypothetically." Yan Xiuan gives me a sidelong glance, succinctly stating, "Dispose of it." What? Would that mean eliminating both the person and the child? No. He must not discover my pregnancy. I cannot return to my former life. This child is my only kin in this world. I cannot forsake it. Yan Xiuan scoops me out of the bathroom. In a daze, he lowers his head and bites my nape. A continuous flow of pheromones floods my senses, creating a peculiar sensation of fullness. Tears spring to my eyes from the pain. Yan Xiuan. He bites gently, soon releasing me. Meeting his desire-laden gaze, I swallow hard. Traditionally, after marking me, he would ravish me repeatedly. The thought of the pregnancy test hidden in the trash rushes through my mind, and I suddenly push him away with all my might. Yan Xiuan, caught off guard, tumbles off the bed. He sits up, gritting his teeth and asking, "Zhoumian, have you grown wings after just a few days apart?" I am taken aback. I had no idea my push would send him sprawling. Hastily, I wrap myself up like a silkworm, exposing only my head, looking pitiful as I say, "Darling, it was not intentional. I've been feeling unwell lately." Yan Xiuan stares at me in silence for a long moment before finally showing mercy and letting me off the hook. 3. I dare not visit the hospital for an examination. The moment I step outside, Xiao Qi would report back to Yan Xiuan. He would send someone to follow me. I cannot let him discover that I am with child. After all, he has never permitted the existence of a child. Not in the past, nor now. 2 years ago, I unexpectedly found myself in this ABO world. After countless failed attempts to return, I was forced to accept my new reality. Lacking identification, I ended up working in the black market. The environment there is chaotic and crowded. Some alphas mistook me for an omega and harassed me daily. When I resisted, they would suppress me with their pheromones. Although their pheromones had no effect on me, I was powerless against them and found myself in distress. Ultimately, Yan Shiwan intervened, bringing me back home. He offered me a contract. In exchange for 10 million and a house, I would serve as his human suppressor, alleviating his desires and dispersing his pheromones. I was unaware of what being a human suppressor entailed. However, the financial compensation, along with a home, and the relief from harassment by others, made me agree without hesitation. After reviewing my medical report, Yan Shiwan asked, expressionless, "Are you certain you want to become pregnant?" "Absolutely certain," I assured him, thumping my chest. "It would be absurd if I could conceive. I am not an omega. How could a man possibly be pregnant?" Yan Shiwan remained silent, scrutinizing me with furrowed brows. I ignored his gaze, repeatedly assuring him that I would not become pregnant, and hastily signed the contract, fearing he might change his mind. And now, I silently pray that the pregnancy test's result is erroneous. To my dismay, as the early stages of pregnancy progressed, my appetite surged. The child within me thrived on the nourishment, growing rapidly. My abdomen gradually formed a soft curve. Yan Shiwan gently pressed on my belly, casually asking, "Have you gained weight recently?" My body tensed. "No way. I've always looked like this." I grasp his hand that ventures into my waistband, feigning anger. "Darling, do you have another omega outside? Or are you starting to find me unappealing?" Yan Shiwan responds with actions, kissing me senseless, leaving me breathless. For I can no longer procrastinate. Yan Shiwan has already sensed something amiss today. Under the cover of darkness, I decisively flee. Not only do I take the cash from the house, but I also swipe a few pieces of clothing that Yan Shiwan changed out of before bed, which carry the scent of pheromones beloved by the child. The cash is limited, and using my card would expose my location. I can only seek refuge in a cheap motel. The room reeks of mildew from years of poor ventilation, and the blankets bear unsightly stains. I immediately contemplate returning home. Yet, recalling Yan Shiwan's cold, icy words, "Dispose of it," I reluctantly accept the dismal room before me. Clutching Yan Shiwan's clothes, I lie down on the bed. The child has a substantial need for Yan Shiwan's pheromones. The scent on the clothing fades day by day, soon dissipating altogether. The child begins to stir restlessly. As it does, an unbearable discomfort envelopes me, leaving me unable to find relief. I despairingly caress my belly, attempting to reason with the child. "Little one, let us forgo the pheromones, shall we? Otherwise our lives may be at stake. I cannot possibly return to steal more clothing, but doing so would seem rather perverse." I was tormented by indecision, tossing and turning, hardly managing to sleep throughout the night. Counting on my fingers, I realized it had been 5 days. Why had Yan Shiwan not come to apprehend me? Previously, I had fled several times due to the overwhelming frequency of his visits, only to be promptly returned by him on the same day. Could it be that Yan Shiwan had grown weary of me, rendering it unnecessary for him to seek me out? The thought struck me like a dagger to the heart, solidifying my resolve to return and pilfer some clothing. After all, if he had lost interest, I planned to sneak back during his absence, confident he would remain none the wiser. During the day, Yan Shiwan was typically away from home. When I was absent, Xiaoqi was usually powered down. I boldly pressed my fingerprint to unlock the door. In the corner, Xiaoqi lay lifeless, its power cord disconnected, staring at me with a hollow gaze. I gently prodded it, but it remained still. A smile of relief spread across my face as I retrieved a burlap sack. However, as I stood in the wardrobe, I was suddenly overwhelmed with dismay. Each garment I laid eyes upon conjured vivid images of Yan Shiwan adorned in them, leading me to desire them all. Ultimately, the wardrobe was nearly emptied, and the sack was bulging, proving too heavy to carry. From downstairs, I heard the sound of someone entering. Then it dawned on me, there would be a housekeeper arriving to clean during the day. I called out casually, "Brother, could you lend me a hand?" "Mister." Yan said these clothes need to be cleared away. Yet, there was no response. I shouted a couple more times, and it seemed he had only just heard me, approaching with an air of familiar pressure that sent a shiver down my spine and quickened my heart. No way could I be this unfortunate? I turned slowly, only to meet Yan Shiwan's gaze, which was half smiling, half mocking. Game over. Truly was Yan Shiwan. I wished I could sink into the floor. Yan Shiwan glanced at the burlap sack and then at the nearly empty wardrobe, inquiring, "When did I say these clothes needed to be cleared away?" I steeled myself and replied, "I noticed they looked old, so I thought I would help you by getting rid of some." I tugged at my clothing to obscure my midriff and edged sideways. "Can you not bear to part with my pheromones?" I hesitated before nodding. Yan Shiwan seized me firmly, scoffing, "Zhoumian, is this truly your level of resolve? How do you dare to run away?" I pouted, feeling both aggrieved and frustrated. What other reason could there be? If not for the child yearning for pheromones, their father would not want them at all. How could I have fallen to the depths of stealing clothing? Yan Shiwan forcibly pushed me into the bathroom, following closely behind with an expression of barely contained exasperation. I stumbled, nearly toppling headfirst into the bathtub. "Unpleasant," he said, catching me and scolding, "Zhoumian, are you truly foolish? Why abandon a villa to dwell in such a shabby place? You've taken all the money from home. If you must stay somewhere, why not choose something better?" My eyes stung and I sniffled. The root of the problem was him. How could he dare to disdain the unpleasant odor that clung to me? His fingertip brushed against my tear-streaked cheek as he chided, "You shed tears at a mere reprimand. How delicate." I was not crying. It was merely the instability of pregnancy hormones that made me feel this way. I dodged his hand as he attempted to remove my clothing. The child could not be discovered by him. "Yan Shiwan, step outside. I can wash up myself." He let out a cold laugh. "Where have I not seen you before?" The fabric in his grip felt as fragile as paper. A chill enveloped my skin as I instinctively covered my belly, hastily crouching down. "What's wrong with your stomach?" Yan Shiwan lifted me from the ground. "Zhoumian, remove your hand." "I refuse." I retreated repeatedly, awkwardly attempting to gather the tattered garments from the floor to shield myself. Yan Shiwan narrowed his eyes, a flicker of anger flashing within them. "Zhoumian, do not make me repeat myself." Under the oppressive weight of his pheromones, I trembled and reluctantly lowered my hand, casting a forlorn glance at my belly. "Oh, dear child, your father is now aware of your existence. I wonder if I can still protect you. Perhaps your father may not even be able to safeguard his own life." I managed a bitter smile, slowly lifting my gaze. Yan Shiwan's expression was evidently stunned. After a brief moment, he seemed to snap back to reality, his voice unsteady. "How long has it been? Zhoumian, is this the reason you ran away from home?" He placed his hand on my abdomen. The warmth of his palm instinctively drew me closer, the pheromones captivating the child. In a daze, the chilling words "dispose of it" echoed in my ears. Startled awake, I suddenly stepped back, regarding him warily. Yan Shiwan furrowed his brow and forcefully pulled me into his embrace once more. His hand returned to my belly. "I recall checking before. You had no reproductive cavity. How is it that you are pregnant now?" "Who knows?" I wished to ask why I was pregnant as well. Ultimately, the instigator was not me but him. After staring at my belly for a significant time, Yan Shiwan wordlessly dragged me out of the room. He moved so swiftly that I nearly stumbled and fell behind. He simply lifted me and shoved me into the car. "Yan Shiwan, where are you taking me?" "To the hospital." Yan Shiwan's calm words struck like thunder, sending my heart racing and my hands trembling. How could he be so decisive, providing no time for reaction? "Let go of me." I refused to go to the hospital. I struggled to escape while cradling my belly, but he held me tightly in his grasp. Desperately seeking to break free, I blurted out, "I confess, he is not your child. You have no right to decide his fate." The hand pressing against me suddenly tightened. Yan Shiwan's face darkened, his tone ominous. "Zhoumian, I do not care whose child is in your belly. You can only accompany me to the hospital." Due to my lack of cooperation, I ultimately found myself subjected to a barrage of examinations under the weight of Yan Shiwan's pheromones. Without giving me a chance to see the results, the nurse escorted me into the hospital room. Aside from Xiao Qi, neither Yan Shiwan nor the doctor was present. I knew they were undoubtedly discussing how to dispose of this child behind my back. As I awaited Yan Shiwan's return to the room, my heart fluttered with anxiety. I prayed he would show mercy and spare both me and the child. I intended to sneak away, but Xiao Qi remained vigilantly by my side, moving in tandem with me. I had no choice but to lie down, turning my back to it and the door. It would be best if the door broke today, becoming unopenable from the outside. That way, no one could enter to do anything to me or the child. Though I wished to avoid it, Yan Shiwan inevitably returned to the room. He held several sheets of A4 paper, which I snatched from him. "What is this?" I asked, my heart racing as I opened it. To my surprise, it was not a surgical consent form but rather the examination reports for both me and the child. The results indicated we were both in good health. If we were healthy, might Yan Shiwan choose to keep the child? I bit my lip and looked up. Yan Shiwan's expression was neutral, devoid of any discernible emotion. Even his pheromones had retreated completely. I could not even catch a hint of calming pheromones. But based on past experiences, I took a deep breath. "Thank you for arranging the checkup for us. However, as I mentioned earlier, he is not yours. Can you let us go? Not possible, Yan Shiwan replied, taking the report from my hands. A faint pheromone emanated from him, and my legs felt slightly weak. He pinched the back of my neck and said, Zhoumian, do not entertain thoughts of leaving. If you intend to depart, do not expect to keep this child within you. Initially, it was Yan Shiwan who proposed to dispose of the child. Now, it is also Yan Shiwan who threatens me to stay. Why should I heed his words? Yan Shiwan cast a glance my way and inquired, who rescued you from the black market? I found myself momentarily speechless. Indeed, it was Yan Shiwan who saved me from the harassment of alphas in the black market, even preventing an assault on me. He brought me back to his home, granting me a sense of belonging in this world. Agitated, I temporarily engaged in a cold war with him. Yan Shiwan returned me home, burdened with unavoidable matters that required his attention outside. Relieved to have a reprieve from him, I exhaled deeply. Yet, before I could fully relax, he pulled me into his embrace, a hand resting on my stomach. What are you doing? I protested. We were in a cold war after all. Embracing me seemed contradictory. He retorted, aren't you the one who stole my clothes to inhale my pheromones? Do you no longer desire them? I muttered a reluctant "oh" and made no effort to resist. Unlike my reluctance, the child within me seemed quite lively. The little one was not on my side, prompting my frustration to manifest as I pushed Yan Shiwan away. Enough, he complied, loosening his grip. Before leaving, he spoke to me in a gentle tone. Stay home and do not wander. Someone will come to take care of you. If you need anything, contact Xiaoqi. I shall return in a few days. I nodded absently, plotting how to seize the opportunity to escape. After a dreary afternoon nap, I awoke to find it was already evening. Stepping out of my room, I noticed an unfamiliar presence in the corridor. Upon seeing me, the individual smiled and said, Mr. Zhou, may I have a moment of your time? My name is Bai Luo, Shiwan's childhood friend and fiance. I was momentarily taken aback, my mind blank. I had no idea how to react. Fiance. Yan Shiwan had never mentioned he had a fiance. Had I known, I would not have signed that so-called human suppressor contract with him. Now, my status as his contract lover was revealed to his fiance. Bai Luo assessed me, his gaze landing on my stomach. I awkwardly tugged at my clothes. Bai Luo, undeterred, continued, is being pregnant quite difficult? Is the baby mischievous? I had a car accident once, injuring my abdomen. My reproductive cavity cannot conceive, so I will never have a chance to bear children. What did that have to do with me? Wasn't this a matter between him and Yan Shiwan? Ignoring him, I descended the stairs in search of something to eat. Regardless of my anger towards Yan Shiwan, I could not starve myself and the child. Bai Luo, like an unshakable gum, followed closely behind me. Shiwan is about to take over the Yan family. He will be quite busy for a while. The old master said he must have a child to inherit, and his relatives are obstructing him. Thankfully, you are here. He paused, expressing a sentiment. This child has come at just the right time. I instinctively touched my stomach, choosing to disregard him. Turning my attention to the refrigerator, Bai Luo leaned in closer. What would you like to eat? I will prepare it for you. Before I could refuse, he ushered me out of the kitchen. Soon, the aroma of food wafted through the air, filling my nostrils. I recalled Yan Shiwan mentioning someone would come to care for me. Was it truly his fiancée whom he had sent to look after his contract lover? As night fell, Yan Shiwan initiated a video call. Our Cold War remained unresolved, particularly now that he had a fiancée, further escalating the tension. I flipped the communicator face down on the bed, allowing him to confront the darkness while I avoided his gaze. Yan Shiwan, unfazed, chuckled and asked, "Are you afraid to let me see you? Perhaps because you are clutching my clothes while sleeping?" My hand paused as I glanced at the wrinkled garment in my grasp. How did he know? Taking a deep breath, I tossed the clothing onto the floor, wishing to banish it from my sight. I retorted, "Who cares about your smelly old clothes?" I placed a vial of my pheromone extract on Xiaoqi. "If you feel unwell, just call him over." I stiffly declined. "No, it makes me nauseous." "Oh, and who was it that ran away only to return and steal my clothes? Why did he have to bring that up?" Yan Shiwan's voice softened as he said, "If you still feel uncomfortable, unfasten your clothes. Your husband will assist you." My face flushed, and I chastised him for his shamelessness. At that moment, Bai Luo's voice rang out from outside. "Zhoumian, are you hungry? I made some late-night snacks. Would you like to join me?" I pretended not to hear him, abruptly cutting off Yan Shiwan's video call and closing my eyes, attempting to cultivate drowsiness. Having napped too much during the day, sleep eluded me now, and my mind wandered uncontrollably. Bai Luo was a peculiar individual. He claimed to be Yan Xiwan's fiance, yet his demeanor towards me was surprisingly amicable. Without the familiar scent and warmth, I tossed and turned, unable to find solace. The child within me began to stir restlessly. 5 minutes later, I decided to abandon my self-imposed misery. Sitting up, I glanced at the clothes strewn on the floor. The scent that belonged to Yan Xiwan emanated from them. Inhaling that fragrance, I silently berated both myself and the child. Why did I have to depend on Yan Xiwan and his pheromones? How utterly pathetic. As I continued to inhale, a revelation dawned upon me. Why was Bai Luo's attitude towards me not typical of a fiancé? He had immediately disclosed his inability to bear children, mentioning that Yan Xiwan needed a child at this juncture. Yan Xiwan and Bai Luo viewed me merely as a vessel to produce an heir, one that would belong to them. Thus, Bai Luo was magnanimous enough to personally care for me, the pregnant contract lover. Having come to this realization, I found sleep even more elusive. The following day, I approached Bai Luo with dark circles under my eyes. Let me be frank with you. This child is not Yan Xiwan's. Giving birth to it would be futile for you both. Bai Luo stared at me in disbelief. Zhoumian, what are you saying? Ignoring his astonishment, I continued, Yan Xiwan and I share merely a contractual relationship. He confines me only because he is upset that I concealed another's child from him, not out of affection. This child is not of his blood. Even if you both were to take it, Yan Xiwan would still be unable to inherit the Yan family. Bai Luo opened his mouth, but I interrupted him. I know you must feel uneasy. However, rest assured, my relationship with him is solely for financial gain. I do not harbor feelings for him, nor will I entangle myself with him. While he is away, please release me. After a protracted silence, Bai Luo neither nodded nor responded. His gaze kept darting behind me, and his expression grew tense. Following his line of sight, I turned around to meet Yan Xiwan's darkened countenance. My heart skipped a beat, and I swallowed hard, realizing the gravity of the situation. Hadn't Yan Xiwan mentioned he would be gone for several days? How had he returned so suddenly? And, to my dismay, he had overheard everything. Bai Luo hastily muttered, "You can discuss this with him before fleeing," leaving me alone with Yan Xiwan. A flicker of ominous rage passed through Yan Xiwan's eyes. His expression was grim, and his voice was laced with seduction. Zhoumian, repeat what you just said to me. I feigned ignorance. What words? Yan Xiwan advanced step by step, the intensity of his pheromones enveloping me. In that moment, it would have been prudent to hasten back to my room and secure the door. Yet my legs felt as though they were encased in lead, rendering me utterly immobile. You don't like me, so you want to pursue me? Is your companionship merely a matter of financial gain? The pheromones in the air were overwhelming, leaving my throat parched and my breathing labored. I instinctively took a couple of steps backward. Yan Xiwan advanced, seizing my arm with a forceful tug. I stumbled, collapsing into his embrace, akin to an insect ensnared in a spider's web, unable to escape. His grip was too strong, causing my wrist to redden with pain. I forced a smile, gazing up at him. Yan Xiwan, are my words not the unvarnished truth? The inception of my relationship with Yan Xiwan stemmed from that contract regarding the humanoid suppressant. The only falsehood was the declaration of my disinterest in him. It was my folly to develop feelings for him, yet I could not help myself. If blame were to be assigned, it would fall upon Yan Xiwan for being so extraordinarily kind to me. ISNT the contract stored in the safe in the study? If you've forgotten, you may retrieve it to refresh your memory. This child is an accident. It has no bearing on you. Before I could finish, Yan Xiwan silenced me, his tone icy and unyielding, one I had never heard before. Enough. Do not utter another word. Zhoumian, is this how you perceive me? I did not wish to think of him in such a manner, yet he behaved as such. I lowered my gaze, choosing silence. Yan Xiwan's expression darkened, and he carried me into the room. Denying me the chance to respond, he leaned down, pinning my legs with his knees. In an instant, fervent kisses descended upon me, utterly overwhelming. His kisses were both urgent and fierce, a wild and untamed onslaught. The pheromones surged around us, rendering me weak and breathless. I attempted to resist, yet he pressed down even harder. Driven by a primal instinct for survival, I instinctively ceased my struggles, surrendering to his kisses. It was only when I felt on the brink of asphyxiation that Yan Xiwan finally released my lips. However, he had no intention of letting me go. A flurry of kisses trailed from the corners of my mouth down to my jaw and gradually descended to my neck. Amidst fragmented gasps, I stared at the ceiling, which was becoming increasingly blurred. In a final desperate attempt, I broke free from Yan Shiwan's hold. No, this cannot be. I buried myself beneath the covers, attempting to hide from him. Yan Shiwan calmed slightly, resorting to pulling my hand downwards. I recoiled, unable to extricate myself, resignedly diverting my gaze. He kissed my nape, gritting his teeth. If it weren't for your pregnancy, you'd see what I would do to you. His whispered words sent a shiver through me, my body instinctively softening. For several days, I found myself wishing to avoid Yan Shiwan at all costs. Yet, the nights proved inescapable. Yan Shiwan had a penchant for using me as a pillow, finding solace in my embrace for restful sleep. One night, I was jolted awake by the incessant beeping of Shao Qi. Beep beep. Detection indicates the gentleman's temperature and pheromones are abnormal. He appears to have entered a sensitive phase. At this, I groggily reached out beside me. Yan Shiwan had transformed into a searing furnace, instantly banishing any remnants of sleep. The air was thick with pheromones, suffocating me. Even Shao Qi, who adored Yan Shiwan's pheromones, was restless. Yan Shiwan, wake up. I nudged the figure beside me. The fever had left him dazed. Without opening his eyes, Yan Shiwan's long arm encircled me, instinctively drawing closer to my neck, his teeth sinking in. I winced in pain, exerting all my strength to extricate myself from his grasp. Gasping for breath, I hastily found 2 articles of clothing for him to hold. Observing Shao Qi, who stood idly by, I felt a surge of frustration. Shao Qi, could you please fetch him a suppressant? Moments later, the oblivious robot responded. Detection indicates the scene is unsuitable and has automatically entered sleep mode. What? Here we were, one of us sprawled on the bed in a stupor, while the other stood helplessly. What did it mean that the scene was unsuitable? At this juncture, it was absurd for it to spread rumors about me. I was determined to dismantle that robot eventually. With no reliance on Shao Qi, I resolved to venture downstairs to retrieve the suppressant for Yan Shiwan. Upon entering the room, the figure on the bed was conspicuously absent, leaving only a disheveled quilt in his wake. In the next moment, I was yanked backward into a searing embrace. Instantly, the potent pheromones enveloped me with an overwhelming desire. Yan Shiwan leaned in, inhaling deeply, and with dissatisfaction, questioned, "Wife, where have you been?" His proximity sent tremors through my body, and I snapped, "Who is your wife? Don't call me that." The cool suppressant in my hand tethered me to reason, preventing me from being utterly bewitched. The suppressant, you can administer it yourself. I offered him a vial. Obediently, he accepted it, only to promptly discard it with a decisive flick. The sharp sound of shattering resonated in the dim light, tightening my heart. I cursed under my breath, hastily securing the last remaining vial. Yan Shiwan remained glued to me, voicing his discontent. "Wife, why don't you hold me? Wife, I want you." I sighed in resignation. There was no escaping what was inevitable. I truly owed him. It was one thing for him to lay claim to my heart, but now, while pregnant, I was also tasked with alleviating his sensitive phase. Previously, when Yan Shiwan was lucid, he had shown restraint, considering my condition. Now, overtaken by fever, he was oblivious to my circumstances, dragging me to the bed without a second thought. As our breaths intertwined, Yan Shiwan sought my lips, kissing me fervently. His scorching breath rendered the air thin, the pheromones thick enough to saturate. I bit into his shoulder, softly cautioning him, "Be gentle. Don't hurt the baby." He paused, evidently taken aback. I guided his hand to my rounded abdomen. In a whirl of confusion, the roles reversed, and I found myself straddling him. Looking down, I saw Yan Shiwan's eyes sparkling with anticipation. "Is this all right?" Minutes later, I mumbled that I needed to dismount. "My waist hurts. I'm exhausted. I can't continue." Yan Shiwan wore an expression as though the sky were falling. He turned to lie beside me, his heated body pressing against my back. Never had time felt so elongated. Outside, dawn began to break. I curled back under the covers, silently vowing never to easily trust an alpha in a sensitive phase again. Fatigued and drowsy, my legs had been commandeered. Afterward, Yan Shiwan regained some clarity. He placed his hand on my abdomen, releasing soothing pheromones. "Does your belly hurt?" I apologize. I couldn't control myself earlier. "It's fine." I was utterly worn out, my eyelids heavy. With lingering apprehension, I brushed his hand away, hoarsely complaining, "Just stop." Yan Shiwan lay beside me, cradling me in his arms, planting kisses upon me. As I drifted in and out of sleep, I heard him softly murmur by my side, "Wife, please wait a moment. Don't leave me." The following afternoon, Yan Shiwan was nowhere to be found. Shao Qi had exited sleep mode, stationed beside me. Had Yen Shiwan's sensitive phase concluded that swiftly? I inhaled the air, detecting his unmistakable scent still prevalent. Where is Yen Shiwan? The sir is in the guest room. I rolled out of bed, intent on checking on his condition. Before I could approach, I caught a whiff of an unfamiliar scent, distinctly different from alpha pheromones. This aroma was exceedingly gentle. I had yet to process the situation. Bai Luo was the first to emerge from the guest room. Upon seeing me, he paused for a moment before gently inquiring, "Why don't you rest a little longer? Shiwan has just taken his suppressants and is already asleep." In his hand, he held an empty syringe. For several consecutive days, Yen Shiwan had been ensnared in a feverish state of susceptibility. The sudden onset of this susceptibility had thrown the villa into disarray. However, with Bai Luo's presence, the turmoil seemed to no longer concern me. If not now, then when? There was no better opportunity than this. Before leaving, I dismantled Xiaoqi, taking the vial of transparent liquid with me. This was Yen Shiwan's pheromone extraction. With this extraction, I could ensure the safe arrival of my child, even in his absence. Half a month later, I found myself in a quaint fishing village, where the locals were simple and life was leisurely. I rented a house with a small courtyard and settled in. As I had breakfast, I scrolled through my communicator. The morning news featured a familiar figure and name. Young Master Bai Luo kidnapped, almost subjected to gland removal. The shocking headline prompted me to click in hastily. Upon discovering that he had been rescued by Yen Shiwan, I felt a sense of inevitability. While kidnapping was certainly unfortunate, perhaps this ordeal would strengthen their bond. In any case, I hoped they would no longer turn their attention toward my child and me. The baby within me grew day by day. Every evening, after applying the pheromone extraction, he would excitedly interact with me. Soon, it was time for me to visit the town hospital for a checkup. My neighbor, a burly alpha, had been particularly kind and attentive since I moved in. Upon hearing that I was going to the hospital, he insisted on driving me there. After dropping me off, he left, and I completed the checkup alone. After learning about the baby's health, my anxiety dissipated. It appeared that the pheromone extraction could substitute for the presence of an alpha. Not long after, news of Yen Shiwan officially taking over the Yen family flooded in. I did not actively seek it out. Major platforms pushed this news to me daily. TCH. What did the inheritance of a wealthy family have to do with a mere commoner like me? I furiously clicked not interested and exited the app. On my way home, I stopped by a fruit shop to buy some produce. For some unknown reason, my right eyelid twitched twice. After walking a few steps, the bag unexpectedly ripped apart, sending oranges and mangosteens rolling across the ground. I bent down, but my burgeoning belly made it difficult to gather them. Just as I was at a loss, a pair of shiny leather shoes appeared before me. Looking up, I saw Yen Shiwan, who had just been in the news, standing right in front of me. I was momentarily taken aback. Yen Shiwan bent down to retrieve the fallen fruit, and out of nowhere, produced a bag to collect them. When he showed no intention of returning them to me, I immediately attempted to snatch them back. Give it back. In the past, I would have simply acquiesced. But now, with a child to raise, he was a wealthy man with designs on my son. If he wanted to eat them, he should buy them himself. Yen Shiwan seemed intent on provoking me. He held the bag high, and even on tiptoes I could not reach it. "I'll help you. Where do you live? I'll drive you back." I replied gruffly, "No need to be polite. Just take me home." With that, I shot him a glare and turned to leave. Upon returning home, the cuttlefish in the yard were perfectly sun-dried. My neighbor was in his yard as well, and he had taught me how to dry the cuttlefish. He was smiling, ready to greet me when he suddenly fell silent. I turned around and saw Yen Shiwan lingering behind me with the fruit. Without a moment's pause, I dashed into the house and quickly shut the door, but Yen Shiwan thrust his hand in to block it. He didn't even utter a sound when the door pressed against his hand. Good riddance. Seizing the opportunity, Yen Shiwan slipped inside, swiftly wrapping his arms around me. His large hand slipped beneath my shirt, making contact with my belly without any hindrance. Has grown quite large. How have you been? Has he been troublesome? He still had designs on my child. This realization spurred me to struggle fiercely. Get off me. I've told you before, he has nothing to do with you. And what are you touching me for? Be careful, or I'll accuse you of sexual harassment. Yen Shiwan let out a light laugh, tightening his embrace and sealing my lips with his. We lingered in a passionate exchange for quite some time before he reluctantly released me, burying his face in my neck to inhale my scent. The alpha pheromones were overpowering and impossible to ignore. My protruding belly pressed against his abs, rising and falling with his breath, leaving me feeling quite uncomfortable. I shifted uneasily, my nerves heightened. Don't move. Let me hold you for a while. Breathing in his familiar scent, my mind and body involuntarily relaxed. After a long pause, he spoke without preamble. Zhoumian, it's all over. I'm sorry for the suffering you've endured during this time. Being held in the same position for too long left me feeling stiff. It had been ages since I had contact with Yan Shiwan, and the baby seemed delighted, but I was not. Annoyed, I pushed at Yan Shiwan. Have you had enough? If not, go home and have your fiancé hold you. Yan Shiwan paused, looking up at me. My fiancé is right here in my arms. Wherever you are, I'll be there holding you. Under his intense gaze, I suddenly felt my cheeks flush and my heart race. Bai Luo is your fiancé, go hold him instead. Yan Shiwan, let me go. I struggled to free myself from his arm, which felt like a vice. Hearing this, Yan Shiwan furrowed his brow. Is that what Bai Luo told you? Was there someone else who had come to tell me? I gave him a look that clearly said, what do you think? Yet Yan Shiwan remained unmoved, lifting me effortlessly and sitting me on the couch upon which he sat. I was forced onto his lap, unable to escape. Bai Luo is not my fiancé. He is my childhood friend and a doctor. That's why I asked him to help take care of you. I frowned, skeptical of his explanation. But upon reflection, Bai Luo had indeed shown me nothing but concern from the start, much like Shao Qi. He had kept a watchful eye on me in the villa, as if he wished to remain by my side 24/7. Yan Shiwan gently brushed my bangs aside and softly explained. At that time, there were individuals in the Yan family who sought to exploit my vulnerabilities. You happened to be pregnant, and what if they decided to harm you upon discovering that? Bai Luo suggested that we pretend to be engaged, and I thought he had already explained it to you. Upon hearing this, the morning news from a few days prior flashed through my mind. So Bai Luo was kidnapped because of you? Yan Shiwan nodded. So that was the reason. I felt relieved that I had managed to escape from the villa at that time. Had I remained by Yan Shiwan's side, I might have been taken as well. After all, a pregnant partner and an engaged partner would likely yield a higher success rate for threats. Now that Yan Shiwan had come to find me, was my safety, and that of my child, not at risk? I shot him a resentful glance, silently urging him to leave my presence. Yan Shiwan tightened his grip on my hand and assured me, rest assured, it has all been resolved. Such incidents shall not occur again in the future, he declared. I merely responded with an "oh," my gaze fixated on our intertwined fingers. I apologize. I should have explained myself sooner, he murmured. I whispered softly, it's not too late now. With a gentle smile, Yan Shiwan pressed a kiss upon the back of my hand, causing a warm sensation to course through me. I shivered slightly but made no effort to extricate myself from his embrace. Yan Shiwan cupped my face, compelling me to meet his gaze. Zhoumian, the danger has been averted. Will you accompany me home? Hesitantly, I curled my fingers, pondering the decision. Ultimately, I nodded in agreement. All right then. Before departing, I wished to bid farewell to my neighbor. Yan Shiwan accompanied me, and to my surprise, upon our meeting, my neighbor appeared to be more familiar with Yan Shiwan than with me. Aren't you staying a few more days? You're taking her away so soon? Yan Shiwan nodded. Indeed, the living conditions and medical care here are inadequate. My eyes flitted between the two of them. My neighbor chuckled and explained, I owe him a favor. This time, he entrusted me with your care. No wonder he had been so attentive to me lately. He frequently brought me meals, claiming it was easier to cook for two than one. Each time I ventured out, I would encounter him, and he would invariably inquire about my destination, offering to accompany me. I had even fancied that he might harbor feelings for me. It was all for Yan Shiwan. I playfully pinched Yan Shiwan's arm. It can't be helped, he explained. Since you were so intent on leaving, I could only indulge you this once. However, to ensure your safety, this was the only course of action. Well, what was done, and I had no choice but to accept it. Months later, Yan Shiwan and I unanimously opted for a cesarean section. Bai Luo performed the surgery. The resounding cries of a newborn echoed within the operating room. Shortly thereafter, Bai Luo presented the infant before me. Look, it's a remarkably robust alpha cub. My mind was still in a daze as I noticed the baby's chubby, reddened legs. I blinked, perplexed. Did you secretly do something to him? He looks as if he has been boiled. Bai Luo laughed so hard that she nearly dropped him. How can you say that about our cub? Rest assured, he will become fairer in due time. Upon exiting the operating room, both Yan Shiwan and Shao Qi rushed to my side. He asked frantically, Wife, are you in pain? Are you uncomfortable? Do you need pheromones? It was the first time I had seen him so flustered. I clicked my tongue, frowning as I retorted, Oh dear, Yan Shiwan, you're being quite loud. Yan Shiwan sheepishly fell silent. Observing this, Shao Qi, who typically displayed little emotional fluctuation, remained utterly still. Yet, the electronic screen behind him was filled with celebratory and tearful emojis, indicating he was on the verge of a breakdown. After regaining some composure, I instructed Yen Shiwan to fetch a dictionary. The cub has been born, yet we have yet to name him. Yen Shiwan assisted me in perusing the dictionary. You decide he will take your surname. Of course he will take my surname. I gave birth to him, so it must be so. Besides, you already have a little Yen Shaoqi. Young master, I'm here, Shaoqi exclaimed, darting over to push Yen Shiwan aside. I casually flipped through the pages and randomly pointed. There, the name was settled. Let us call him Zhou Yen Ning. Yen Shiwan, go fetch the cub for me to see. What appeared to be a rather sizable baby in by Luo's arms transformed into a miniature bundle in Yen Shiwan's embrace, resembling a little doll. His large, inquisitive eyes darted around, curiously observing us. He was so adorable that I felt an overwhelming urge to nibble on his chubby cheeks. Summoning Shaoqi, I requested him to take a photo of the three of us. Although I had unexpectedly traversed into this unfamiliar realm, I was no longer alone. I had my own little family now. The end. Thank you for listening. Until we meet again in the next story.